Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today, a bit of a double whammy. We're going to be taking a look at the new Hype Performance Group H160 helicopter for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we'll be also exploring the wonderful Milford Sound region created by the fantastic developers at NZA Simulations as well. So we're going to be flying out of this farm strip here in New Zealand with the H160 on a test flight, a first flight, across to Milford Sound. A short journey spanning about 20-30 minutes with end-to-end wonderful scenery. And we're going to explore a number of the features available in this upcoming helicopter for MSFS. I'll be sharing my thoughts with you throughout the video too, so hit like and subscribe and share your own thoughts down in the comments below. First impressions, a real step change from their other helicopters actually, and a bit of a flagship product from them, I think. Beautiful exterior model, and as you can see here up close, really nice attention to detail across the helicopter from front to rear. There are a number of custom keybinds for this that you do need to set up before you use it, and they are detailed in the quick start guide included. And a number of different liveries are available as well for you to choose from, with two variants, a civilian and a luxury model. The helicopter comes with lots of animations, including the doors, configurable passengers, payload, and as we'll see shortly, options via the little tablet inside the cockpit, allowing us to choose what navigational systems we use, whether it be the PMS 50 or the TDN-XI options. The cockpit then, as you can see, is wonderfully detailed, more so than their other helicopters in fact. This is supposedly a little bit more complex to fly, but if you set the right keybinds and you love helicopters, then this is perfect for you. Similarly, if you like the airliners as well, this gives you a little bit more of a variety with something to do. Certainly touring areas around the world like this, around Milford Sound. The product links for all of these will be in the description down below as well, of course. As you can see, the texture work that Hype Performance Group have put into this is vastly improved as well compared to their freeware helicopter. I'm going to be using the quick start guide to get the helicopter systems fired up, get the rotors and the engines started and spinning, and then we'll look at taxi, takeoff and that kind of thing. Overhead panel then, battery 1 on, battery 2 on, Gen 1 on, Gen 2 on, emergency generator is on. We're not going to use the GPU, and we could turn it on if we want to. And then we've got all of the systems alive on the aircraft, and we're waiting for power up test. Okay, there it is. RA 1 and 2 need to go on. They already are on. FMS 1 and 2 on. Stereo lighting down the bottom. We can put anti-collision lights on to red, POS lights on as well. And I'm going to continue to work through all the checklist until we get to the engine start section. Moving on to engine start then, we're going to go engine 1 or engine 2 set to idle. We'll start with engine 1. Rotor begins to spin. Engine 1 starter. We would be monitoring the M1 and the top, and the rotor spins before N1 reaches greater than 25%, and it is, as we can see here, around 50%. The start mode should be disengaged, and then the N2 and NR should accelerate. So that's all done. That's engine 1 started. We look at the hydraulic pressure, the torque values, everything here, making sure it's reading correctly. The engine oil is within limits, the hydraulic pressure, MGB oil are all within limits. Taxi checks. We're going to go back to the overhead panel. We're going to pop engine 1, guarded and flight. Engine 2, flight and guarded. DC GPU, the light goes off there as well, look. Message list, another check, lots of checks of those, and we'll set the rest of the flight deck up as required as well. So the maps, for example, over here, we can change them as necessary. Noticeable illumination there, lock or unlocked. That's important, certainly on this, because you can forward taxi and taxi like normal. Look at that, it's really stunning, isn't it? And we can taxi the helicopter on the ground, around airports, wherever else we would otherwise need to. Once we're happy then, we're going to hover just a few foot off the ground in ground effect, and then we're going to increase our attitude and speed, and then begin to actually work our height up a little bit as well. So, let's go. Terrain avoidance. It's detecting the terrain ahead, really smart system. And we're going to be looping round over the farm past the tractor. Bit tricky this one for a first flight in this helicopter, to be fair, with all of the terrain. The farm below, the scenery from NZA Simulations is absolutely exquisite, so I couldn't resist. And we'll be following the river out. VY on the speed tape there, so we're going to continue past VY. There's the gear animation, really smart. Quite a slow gear attraction, so it's something that we do need to bear in mind when we go to kind of deploy those later. We need to make sure we do it in good time. Now this is a very in-depth simulation of this helicopter. It's something that I'm going to have to take many weeks getting used to. It's not something I do very frequently anyway, flying helicopters in the sim, but this is by far the most complex, most immersive helicopter that is available inside Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment. And with that, there's a lot to consider as they try and match the realities of this flying in the real world. The way the helicopter flies though, really nice. A couple of the keybinds that they mention are really important. Every time you manipulate the cyclic, you need to release the kind of cyclic trim on the helicopter as well, and that gives you the authority with telling the helicopter what you want to do. Little things that I'm really not used to myself, but otherwise very, very enjoyable. It's something else to consider and deal with while you're trying to fly these helicopters as well. So as we're flying around, we can see the helicopter in all its glory with the landing lights deployed as well, extended and on. There she is. Look at the model as well from underneath. We didn't see it on the ground, of course, but just really a bit of spectacular work from High Performance Group folks. A helicopter with significant presence as well. It looks fantastic. And if I change the time to night, that's what it looks like. From the outside, looking in. Really quite spectacular, isn't it? Look at that. And for night flying as well, it has a wonderful night vision mode and a nighttime running mode as well, just so that we can see all of the displays, dials, switches as required on the aircraft at night. So an incredibly flexible aeroplane, actually, to be fair, with a lot of really fantastic options. So with the autopilot modes within this helicopter as well, you can either hand fly it a lot, or if you want to, you can get it to fly that line as well. So you could choose nav source and it would aim to fly along that magenta line, and this is just a very simple routing that I've put in from the Microsoft Flight Simulator world map, but you can integrate things like little map into here as well. As we mentioned earlier on, you can use the PEMS GTN50 or the TDNXI mods as well, and plan your flights accordingly in those. You can make dynamic changes, so I've just increased the indicated airspeed by 10 knots. The helicopter's responded accordingly. We're holding 1500 feet as well, which is quite nice. And I've just asked it to do an extra 10 knots just to help whisk us to Milford Sound that a little bit quicker. So heading into Milford Sound, we've flown in a few times in the past with various other bits of scenery in the region. First time with this, however. We'll be flying in through the valley, across the water, and then touching down just over the runway, or even on the runway. We could even kind of taxi in manually. Just going to pass this little crest of the hill and then route inbound like so. Fairly simple routing. This is all part of the NZA Simulations Milford Sound region pack. So the waterfalls that we can see here that we're passing on our right hand side, and even through the valley left and right, all animated and all part of this really remarkable scenery package, which you can purchase on the NZA Simulations website. Using the Tobii eye tracker as well, just to help me look around. Really useful for helicopter flying and general aviation. And little boats down there animated as well, sailing about in the bay. Very special bit of scenery this, that's not had the attention that it should have had. We go gear down. The landing gear's down, or is lowering at the moment. Nose wheel is as required. Park brake is off. We've done our decision heights. Landing lights are on. Signs and anti-collision lights are on as required. Letting that speed trickle off now. Such an impressive part of the world, this. There's the runway.
Caution, terrain.
Get down, 3 green locked. You guys will have to share your thoughts about the scenery in the comments below as well. Look at that waterfall over there, with the animated spray coming off it. Just remarkable.
Warning, terrain.
And the beauty of this helicopter is the fact that you can kind of have a rolling touchdown on the runway. You don't have to hover and touch down. You can still be doing a couple of knots, as we're doing at the moment, and then you can just roll it neatly onto the runway. That's the wheels down. And we've got brakes as well, so we can use the brakes to slow the aircraft or the helicopter down. So shutdown checks. Make sure the park brake is set. Collective pitch is set to minimum. Cyclic stick and pedals are centered. Engine 1 and 2 need to now get unguarded to the idle position. Floats can go to the off position if installed. RA 1 and 2 off. ECS is off, and after 30 seconds we're going to pop the engines off. And we're going to keep an eye on engine 1 and 2 as the NR goes below 50. We're going to apply this, the rotor brake. Once the rotor stops, then we'll release the rotor brake and finish with offloading the passengers and turning the systems off. So there you have it, the high performance group H160 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, flying into the wonderful NZA Simulations Milford Sound region in New Zealand. I hope you've enjoyed it. All the links for both products, the scenery and the helicopter, are in the description down below. Be sure to check them out, share your tips, tricks and your own thoughts too. And in the meantime, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.